Welcome back to another episode of Rock Boys Football. Late last night, Ohio State lands their future quarterback of the 2025 class in Tavien St. Clair, and you take a look at what this kid brings to the table. There's a reason Alabama, LSU, a plethora of SEC and Big Ten schools, Michigan, my team, obviously sent out an offer as well. There's a reason that most Power 5 teams in the country offered this kid so early. You take a look at the physical tools Tavien St. Clair brings to the table, it's special. 6'3.5", 210 pounds. And you see the national recruiting ranking, right? Outside the top 200. Guess what? I'm going to trust Ryan Day and that Ohio State staff of evaluation of talent, specifically at the quarterback spot. And you can talk all you want about the stars in the national recruiting rankings. Ryan Day has a proven track record of identifying really good talent at the quarterback position and developing that talent. And Tavien St. Clair, to be honest, you take a look and we'll get into his high school highlights. And I'm not going to pretend like I'm some sort of expert scout out of high school. You could absolutely see, obviously, about what Ryan Day and this Ohio State staff were so excited about in Tavien St. Clair. This is their guy. They wouldn't have offered him. They wouldn't have took him this early if it wasn't, right? Ohio State traditionally has to pick their litter when they want a quarterback, right? They have to pivot late with Dylan Raiola in the 2024 class, and they go out and get the best quarterback available in Aaron Nolan. And so Ohio State this isn't a settle. This isn't like it's late in the process, we got to settle for a guy like this. This was Ohio State's guy. He's from the state of Ohio. And Ryan Day doing a really nice job locking down his arm in the 2025 class. I love when you can get quarterbacks early in the class because those guys are kind of the ones that the gravitational pull. Like when you have your quarterback, the wide receivers, as if Ohio State needed any help getting wide receivers to come to the program. When you have a talented quarterback like they do, like St. Clair, guys are going to gravitate to him. So a really good get for Ohio State. We're going to talk a little bit about what St. Clair brings to the table. Then I want to take a little sneak peek at what's been going down with Ohio State on the 2024 trail. Now, before we get into it again, just want to say thank you to you guys. And y'all know I rock with Michigan. We talk a lot of Michigan recruiting, but we also talk a lot of Ohio State recruiting, and appreciate you guys supporting the channel. We love talking ball, whether it's Michigan. You got to keep an eye on your rivals. That's kind of how I see it. But appreciate you guys for checking the fellas out. And if you do enjoy the content, consider subscribing to the channel. Let's get into Tavien St. Clair before we take a look at what's been going down in this 2024 class. Again, you see late with the offers, right? Mississippi State, Alabama, LSU, Michigan. I mean, they were early on this kid. A lot of these top programs. And what does that say? There's probably a little bit of a discrepancy in where the Power 5 teams evaluated a guy like Tavien St. Clair and where 24/7 Sports and On3 were evaluating a guy like Tavien St. Clair. You get into the highlights. I mean, this dude, it's wild to watch his film and think that this kid is only a sophomore in high school playing like this. You're going to see the first play. Like, he's a phenomenal athlete, gets out on the run and throws an absolute bullet to the corner of the end zone. Like that is special arm talent. It seems like it comes out of his hand extremely easy. And you're also going to see some relative development too. I mean, he's a phenomenal athlete, which I think Ryan Day and that Ohio State staff really covets. It's something CJ Stroud I wish he used it more. I think he was a better athlete than he showed on the tape. But again, going back to a guy like Justin Fields, and you're seeing even at the NFL level, having guys who can make magic, turn water into wine per se. It's becoming a much more coveted trait. Gone are the days where you want like the Tom Brady's of the world who are kind of statues in the pocket and can't create outside the pocket. You even look at the NFL. Like a lot of those top quarterbacks are dudes that can extend plays and create outside of the pocket. Tavien St. Clair, certainly a guy that can do it, but he also has an absolute hose. You're going to see him absolutely set. And it's just easy velocity too. Like this ball just kind of glides out of his hand. So you see the live arm, you see the accuracy, and again, a very developed kid for only a sophomore. I see Ryan Day just seeing this kid as just a big ball of clay, and we can absolutely mold this into a guy that we want. Again, that's whoever that wide receiver is. Let's get him on board to Ohio State too. That was a phenomenal catch. You're seeing clearly what Ryan Day liked in Tavien St. Clair, and you can go out and check out more of his highlights. He's just a dude that's really, really talented. Now, I want to talk about this 2024 class and what they have coming up, because this is and especially in terms of the Michigan-Ohio State rivalry, this is a massive, massive weekend for Ohio State, right? Justin Scott coming in. It sounds like Miami's kind of in the lead, but Ohio State's doing a phenomenal job. Larry Johnson, not many better recruiters on the trail than Larry Johnson. So I'm not saying Justin Scott's he's certainly in the Ohio State's certainly in the mix for Justin Scott, but I want to talk specifically about Bryce West and Aaron Scott. Michigan, if there's one, and I'm as a Michigan fan, if you guys have listened to how I feel about this Michigan recruiting class, I'm extremely happy with it. That being said, if there's one position that I'm a little concerned about, it is that cornerback spot. I mean, we have 20 commits in the boat, and we don't have a single cornerback. Bryce West and Aaron Scott are our two top cornerbacks. We both got them in on official visits. We need one of them. And it's a really good spot that Ohio State's in where they're getting Aaron Scott and Bryce West to take their last official visits, and you're probably going to get a decision around sometime early July. Bryce West and Aaron Scott are friends. They're taking their last official visit to Ohio State and have been considered Ohio State leans throughout this process. If Ohio State can land both of them, not only are there two phenomenal cornerbacks to go onto that defense, that's a given, but it really hurts Michigan, in my opinion. And so you talk about these are kind of the recruiting battles. A lot of people like to think, and I'm not saying recruiting's all that matters, but this is how you win those rivalry matchups. You look at Georgia and Florida. Why is Georgia kind of having the upper hand? They're winning those recruiting battles down south. You look at Michigan, Ohio State. These are kind of the recruiting battles for two of the top kids in the state of Ohio at big-time positions, where if you want to win these rivalry games, these are recruiting battles that are going to show up in 2 years in the fall. And Bryce West and Aaron Scott, these are two, I think, probably the two bigger names left on the board for at least Ohio State and Michigan standpoint, because it seems like for Bryce West, exclusively Michigan, Ohio State. He canceled his official visit to USC. It's between those two. And then Aaron Scott, I think you can throw in the Oregon Ducks too, but those are two really, really big ones in terms of not only Ohio State's 2024 class, but the rivalry in general. I do want to talk about who they had on campus last weekend too. Ryan Day and this staff have done a really good job going into the state of Georgia and taking top talent. Obviously, Aaron Nolan, Jelani Thurman in the 2023 class was a really good example of it. KJ Bolden, Clemson's in the mix. I know Georgia's the lean, but Ohio State's lingering there. And then Edric Houston. You're seeing Edric Houston get a lot of momentum. It was his dream school from what I've heard. From the state of Georgia, plays his ball at Buford, leaning to Ohio State. This is a special dude, 6'3", 255. Maybe a little bit short, right? But that's not a bad thing when you consider he's an 80-plus inch wingspan. This dude has really, really good length. He can play with the low pad level. One of the best defensive linemen in the class. You can put him out on the edge. You can put weight on him and put him on inside. That's a big one for Ohio State. And Dylan Stewart, another guy that Ohio State is leaning with. You take a look at what this 2024 class could be. I think Aaron Nolan, there's a great chance that he ends up having a 5-star status next to his name when it's all said and done. You obviously have Jeremiah Smith, Mylan Graham, Dylan Stewart, and Edric Houston on the defensive line would be, I mean, you're looking at a class for Ohio State that could comfortably be a top 2 class. Probably not going to catch Georgia unless they're able to maybe get KJ Bolden, Dylan Stewart, and Edric Houston, all of those guys, and maybe add Justin Scott as well. That being said, this is going to be a top 3 class for Ohio State, even if they land just a few of these guys. One of the cornerbacks, one of Dylan Stewart and Edric Houston, Ohio State. And then the last guy I want to talk about, Gerby Lambert. I've had some discussion with Ohio State fans, and I'm kind of interested to hear what you guys have to say with this. That's the one position that I just feel like Ohio State hasn't necessarily recruited at an elite level with, since like a guy like Paris Johnson who came in that 2020 class. And I think it's kind of evident lately because they had to go out in the transfer portal and get Justin Simmons from San Diego State because I don't think they're very comfortable with that tackle class. And I think that might be a result of, Ohio State is used to winning their battles for wide receivers, defensive linemen, even in the secondary. They normally have the pick of their litter when it comes to who they want to take in their recruiting class. At that offensive tackle spot, I don't think it's been as successful. And so for a guy like Justin Fry, you're looking at a guy in Gerby Lambert who Boston College, Notre Dame are seemingly the 2 top contenders in a very weak tackle class from what I've heard. Gerby Lambert is another guy that I think Ohio State really needs to get. And then Xavier Brown, who's a USC lean, but USC just took 2 cornerbacks in the top 100. So there might be a way where he's kind of looking to pivot to another spot and Ohio State gets him on campus, that would be an interesting one too. But again, Brandon Baker, it's early. He's just released his top 10, so I'm not necessarily going to talk too much about him. But a guy like Gerby Lambert at that offensive tackle spot would be, if you can get one of the two, Brandon Baker or Gerby Lambert, I think you're feeling pretty good about that as well. As much as we like to hype, and Michigan fans, this is not meant to upset Michigan fans. As much as we're talking about Michigan getting a lot of traction, and it sounds like Michigan might finish with one of their best classes we've had in the last decade, Ohio State is still doing their thing down in the state of Ohio. And they're used to landing top 3 classes, and this class sounds like it's probably going to land as a top 3 class as well, because I think there's still a lot of it's already a phenomenal class, and there's still a lot of top targets that Ohio State's getting a lot of traction with that are considering Ohio State. So we'll be covering the commitments as they roll in, but wanted to hop on, talk about Tavien St. Clair, and then just take a little preview of this Ohio State 2024 class and what it could be. Again, appreciate you guys for checking out the boys. If you do enjoy the content, even if you are an Ohio State fan, consider subscribing to the channel. We appreciate you guys, and we'll talk to y'all later.